Well, the first Deputy Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Emine Dzhaparova, is on a 4-day visit to India. Now, Emine Dzaparova's visit to the country marks the first official visit on the part of a senior Ukrainian official since the onset, of course, of the war between Russia and Ukraine that broke out in February last year. The Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister spoke exclusively to Srinjoy Chaudhary of Times Now.
Welcome, first Deputy Foreign Minister of the Ukraine, Emine Dzhaparova. Welcome to Times Now, welcome to India. And you come all the way from the Ukraine. You've been fighting for 411 days. It's a big moment.
Yeah, Namastey. It's a pleasure to be here in India, in a holy country, the country that I do love and the country that I've been visiting for many times, mostly the southern part of India, but it's a huge excitement to be on the motherland of all spiritual gurus and teachers and my beloved Sri Satya Sai Baba, whose ashram I've been attending many times. So being here with my official visit for the first time is a special moment for myself. And as you said, we are under the war. It's a huge tragedy. I think that every Indian people who follows this war, which is a very barbaric one, when our people have been tortured to death. These are civilians who did nothing, when we had cases when people have been shot because they've been standing in the queue for bread, when they rape children in front of their mothers and parents, when they kidnap our children to the filtration camps, when they hit us with missile attacks, when they try to freeze us in the most severe winter that we have in Ukraine, and we survived this, the most difficult winter in our history. But what I think is important is that Ukrainian people are resilient enough, and this is what we probably did not expect from ourselves, becoming a nation that fights for its future. And I think that it's important to understand that we've been living in a, let's say, neighboring with a country that has a very neo-colonial attitude towards Ukraine, the country that questions the very existence of Ukraine and tries to solve this issue in a military way with terrorist attacks. But even though we have not won yet, but I think that Russia has already lost it, because it becomes the most toxic country, the most sanctioned country, the country whose leader is under the arrest warrant of ICC, naming him a war criminal. I think it's a huge step and something that the world never expected, because we are having a case with a P5 country and a country that is claims to be the second largest army in the world, and they cannot achieve their military goals in Ukraine. This is what I find the most amazing.
You have heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi tell Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, that the 21st century is not a time for war. You have met senior officials here. Have you invited him or any other leaders to the Ukraine, to Kiev? I
fully support the words of Prime Minister, His Excellency Prime Minister Modi, when he says the 21st century is not an epoch for war. He messaged it in Samarkand. We fully share this notion. We thought that the consciousness of the humanities, especially after the Second World War, is high enough not to communicate with each other by the means of force, by the language of force, by missiles and by killings, but unfortunately it's not. The lesson that we have learned in Ukraine, and especially in my homeland, Crimea, when they invaded us in 2014, because the war did not start 24th of February. It started in 2014, in February 2014, when they invaded Crimea. And we all, as a humanity in my country, was not strong enough to give proper response to aggression of Putin. So the lesson is simple. Whenever evil is not stopped, it becomes bigger. So I think that we have to learn this lesson. And going back to your question, of course, the invitation to visit Ukraine for Prime Minister is there. There is a request for the phone conversation between our leaders, between President Zelensky and Narendra Modi, and I that he will personally invite Prime Minister to pay his visit to Kiev, as well as other senior officials, for example, National Security Advisor Mr. Daval, who has a very active interaction with his counterpartner Mr. Yermak, who is the head of the presidential office. So we have to state that there is a need for the intensification of a political dialogue, especially with regards to the G20 presidency, when we have India, a country that is playing and will be playing a greater role globally. It's not a case for India to escape this discussion. So I think that by having and taking this role of a global leader, India is expected to pay proper attention to the situation that is not regional, even though it might seem that this war is distant and is not about Indian people. It is, because the repercussion of the war can be felt in every part of the globe, with the food security that is a result of this war, with the energy prices that is a result of this war, with the nuclear blackmail, when no one can be secured, when bigger attacks smaller, and other leaders might be also seduced, watching if impunity is there. If Putin is allowed to do his crimes, we have other leaders who might do the same. So I think it's crucial for Indian people to understand that it's about all of us. It's our common responsibility.
Also, there has been a lot of talk from other countries about India playing a larger role in the peace talks, trying to get peace in Ukraine, trying to get Ukraine and Russia to stop the fighting. Do you see India having a major role here?
I think that there is a dynamic, and I hope for better dynamic with this regard. Look, the motto of India's presidency in G20 that was called by Prime Minister Modi is one earth, one family, one future. It's very strong, and we do share this motto. We believe that everything is interconnected. So greater engagement of India into the resolution of the war, into the stopping the evil and aggression is important, not only for the region, but globally, also for the global south, also for all the regions, Asian countries, Gulf countries, African countries. It's really, really crucial to stop this evil, because as I said, whenever the evil is not stopped, it becomes bigger.
You've had meetings today. Have you spoken about the fact that India could evacuate 20,000 students and others out of the Ukraine in the middle of a war? Did you bring up these issues about more humanitarian aid for India? Did these issues come up?
Yes, absolutely. Humanitarian assistance is already discussed and have been discussed for quite a while. These are generators, these are the school buses, these are other options that might be performed. I will not open up the secrets. When it comes to these students, I mean, we are proud to have thousands of Indian students in Ukraine who are receiving mostly medical education. We are happy that India joined this mobility, academic mobility opportunities that are opened up for Indian students, and then they can pass their exam, which is a final exam, qualification exam in India. This is what our Ministry of Education have been strong in opening up these opportunities, because now we have 2,000 of Indian students physically in Ukraine, but the majority have been evacuated, and we did our best to make it smoothly and in a safe manner. And I hope that after the resolution of the war, we will have more and more Indian students. But then the other issue that I've been also raised with my counterparts whom I met and will be meeting these days is the demining issue. Look, Ukraine is the most polluted country in the world when it comes to mines. Mines is a threat, because every day, almost every day, we have people who are dying because of the mines, be it the sea or the land. The territory of pollution in Ukraine equals to Gujarat. It's absolutely, I mean, we have as big as Gujarat, because it's over 180,000 square kilometers in Ukraine. And then demining will be a long-term issue for Ukraine. So be it equipment or expertise or the specialists who might come to Ukraine and help us with mining will be mostly welcome. And reconstruction and recovery, I think it's a matter of mutual interest. It's not only about assistance in a classic way, but it's also about business opportunities, because I believe that after the war there will be a lot of investments. It also comes to the EU candidacy status that we received. It also because we are now a part of the family, and I think that the European countries will invest a lot of resources into making the future of Ukraine better. And I think it will also open up bigger opportunities for India and for Indian businessmen when it comes to the reconstruction of roads, bridges, houses, and civilian dwellings,
infrastructure, basically,
hospitals and schools. So I think it's something that Indian business can also consider, as well as the agriculture.